Iron Flash Gaming here, back again, once again. Another top 5 non-mega Pokemon in League format. So this is going to include the versatility, the move pools, the typing, the coverage, how many different Mons can check it. These are Mons that can almost fit on any team as long as you somewhat build around it. And so if your top 5 Mon does not fit onto this list, it is fine and okay. It doesn't make it crap. It just makes it not on my top 5 list. So we are going to get on our number 5 Mon. Coming in like a steamy hot plate of spaghetti, we have our boy Mew, or girl Mew, our genderless thing Mew. Coming in at number 5. Its ability is probably the only bad thing about it. I mean, Synchronize can be very good because you don't want to status a Synchronized user because then you're going to get statused. And Mono Psychic is because it's weak to knock off, it's weak to, bug, this and that. And Psychic Mono Normal, whatever, is, walled by Steels, walled by Darks, walled by other Psychics, blah, blah, blah. But that's all fine and dandy if you're a Mew because you have more than enough move pools to hit anything from neutral damage. In fact, if you go 4 attacks Expert Belt Mew, you're fine. You don't even need Psychic because you can hit your opponent for super effective damage with 4 moves. Like, it is crazy good in its move pool. My favorite set, this is not really necessarily the cookie cutter set, but I think the best set is the Nasty Plot set, because Nasty Plot 3 attacks, you hit everything for neutral damage. Pretty good speed, 100 speed, not that bad, no. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. Now, you can't go Swords Dance. I don't really like, I like Psychic over Zen Headbutt, but, Swords Dance does have the opportunity to go Sucker Punch, so that's a thing. And Baton Pass. Baton Pass is not really looked a lot on Mew because you can run millions of different moves on this thing, but having the option to go Nasty Pass with Mew, I mean, that's insane. And, with its naturally good defenses, you don't even need to invest in defense with this thing. Another thing that I like about this Mew, having a Mew, is it has momentum. Volt Switch, U-Turn, you can run it Choice Banded, Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, and you don't have to run Baton Pass with the Choice because you can, just run Volt Switch or U-Turn. And another fun little mechanic, I mean, you can do so many things like I said, but Transform is good for scouting, and it's just kind of there. Like, if they have a setup Mon or whatever, you transform and you kind of steal their stats, and then you steal their Scarf. Well, I mean, technically you outspeed. You transform, you're them, and then you outspeed the next turn, and then you could potentially win the game. So this is going to be your standard set you're going to be seeing most with the Mew. So it's going to be specially defensive, and then you have Willow to burn physical attackers, so it can take physical attacks because it burns them, special attacks because its special defense is insane. You have Heal Bell in case they try to status you. You have Knockoff that you just kind of spam because it's a very, very spammable move. And, like, for example, this is a good Lottie check. If they try to Draco, you just roost that off. If they try to Psyshock, that does 0 damage. You knock them off, you burn them. You can even run Taunt. Like I said, if you're a very good player and your team builder is what wins you games, Mew's going to be higher on your list. But I decided to put Mew on the number 5 because the other things are absolute monsters, so stay tuned for a number 4 Mon. Kyurem Black is our number 4 spot, and Kyurem Black is very, very scary in League format. The reason why is because there's no such thing as a Kyurem Black switch-in, because it has just a good enough move pool to deal with Steel types, with Fairy types that want to try to switch into Kyurem. So, I mean, it could run, Fusion Bolt, Iron Head. I mean, depending on what, 12 mods or whatever they have, it can deal with anything. And if you do want to go that route, let's say they have a Cresselia that you don't 2-hit KO Cresselia, but you can Toxic it, and it even gets Roost. So you can run, Life Orb 3 attacks Roost. And one of the things that hinder Kyurem is its speed stat, which is still very, very good. Base 95 speed outspeeds a ton of different things, but you are outsped by the base 100s, and there are many base 100s out there that can kind of deal with Kyurem. Another thing about Kyurem is that it is weak to rocks, so you do have to keep that in mind. Now, another beautiful thing about Kyurem, I mean, there's the face itself is very beautiful, Mr. Kyurem, but it has base 170 attack. That, what? Hello? Base 170 attack. You run this Adamant, Outrage. If they don't have a fairy, it's Okoing a couple steel type users if they don't have, you know, any defense investment. And I mean, Outrage is incredibly spammable once again if they don't have a fairy type user. And even if they do have a fairy type user, they're dying to Ironhead. So if you predict the switch into a fairy, you go for Ironhead, and it's gone. Another set that you can run is Choice Specs, because it is essentially a better special attacker. Now, obviously, its physical attack is sky high rocketed. It doesn't get an ice coverage. It doesn't get Icicle Crash, Ice Punch. It gets a really, really crappy physical ice attack that you're never really going to use. I mean, it's incredibly situational. If you want to use it 1 week, I don't even know what it's called. It's not even being worth even looking for. But anyways, Choice Scarf or Choice Specs Ice Beams, still very, very powerful, coming from base 120, which is still very respectable. Like we said, Terravolta, the Mold Breaker ability, goes through Levitate users, and only flying types can switch into this Mold Breaker, which flying types aren't switching into because you have Ice Beam. Draco Meteor is good because it's a high base power attack. Draco Meteor stab. And the only reason why you'd run something like HP Fire is if they have the Scavalier or this or that. And like I said, Kyurem does not have any switch-ins. The last thing that I do want to mention about Kyurem is as long as it, now if you run something like 4 attacks, you might have to run a minus defense or a minus special defense nature, which kind of sucks. But it's all fine if you only need the correct coverage. So for example, Ice Beam and Earth Power hit almost pretty much everything for neutral damage, because Mold Breaker does have that effect, and then Ice Beam and things and stuff. So Kyurem has base 125 HP. I mean, his stats are absolutely insane. You can substitute, I mean, even without any bulk, you can still substitute on many different things. I think the best minimum amount of bulk as far as HP, you want to run at least like 3640 HP to not get your substitute broken by things like seismic tosses. And, you know, let's say if their check to it is a, you know, extremely bulky mon with seismic toss, you set up a sub, and if you want to go this route, I've seen John Pokemon use something like substitute Hone Claws, and holy cow, that is a pretty cool strategy. Now obviously you wouldn't do it with a special set, but it's just cool to do. Roost is there because, like, it's naturally incredibly bulky with Roost. Like, it's a wall breaker that's a wall. Like, huh? Like, no, this thing is very fun to use in League formats, and just make sure to draft a good, reliable defogger or user, and just draft Kyurem. Trust me, you don't lose anything by doing it. I've always kind of wondered, like, what the heck is a Manaphy? Like, I mean, a lot of Pokemon are really, really weird, but, like, what is this? Like a sperm thing, or, like, raindrop? I have no idea what this thing is, but we have Manaphy at our number 3, and we all know how powerful Manaphy is because it gets a +3 special attack with a single tail glow. I mean, if you do that, it gets a trillion special attack in just 1 turn. Now, it can run either Scald or Surf. Now, you know, obviously Scald in general is a lot better than Surf, but, like, if you set up 1 tail glow with Manaphy, generally the game is over unless they have a Scarfer in the back. But if you want to burn stuff, you know, before you have to tail glow, if you don't want to restrict yourself in tail glowing, you can run Scald or Scarf. I mean, the item also is optional as well, so you can run something like a Walk-On Berry, or what is it, Rindo to take, you know, either grass types or an electric type. And so Manaphy does very, very well on a team with a dragon, because its only 2 weaknesses are electric and grass, and then you switch into, you know, dragon types on those 2 attacks. But having, only two weaknesses and then running a berry to make you only have one weakness and you have base 100 you know defenses, like that is fun to say the least. Now, the coverage is based on whatever your team opponent has. So something like a Psychic can be good for something like a Mega Venusaur, or even having something like a Signal Beam if they have a Hoopa, or I mean maybe even HP Fire if you want to hit something like a Ferrothorn. But if you only need like Scald and Ice Beam hit their whole team for neutral damage, you can run something like a sub and make it fun and make it like leftovers, and you can kind of play around like having like max HP, max speed is also good because you don't necessarily need to go, full specially, offensive, because after Tail Glow, you're still OHKOing things. And if they try to go into a wall, you set up a sub, and you are now at +6. Another common set is the Tail Glow set, or is the Calm Mind set. And so its one ability is Hydration, which is not really good unless you kind of run this set. I mean, it's good if you have a semi-rain team for even the Tail Glow set, because if you're in the rain, you hit rain boosted Skulls with +3, like that is absolutely insane. But Hydration and Rain Dance is very good with Rest, because if they try to status you, they try to burn you. If they even get like you down to like 15%, you hit Rest in the rain, and you're back, essentially at full health. You are back at full health, and this can even be grass types, or things like Ferrothorn, Bar, Leech Seed, but then it's kind of stally. But Scald is arguably the best move of the game, and in the rain you get up Scald Burn on something like it does hit very, very hard when it is in the rain, without even getting any boosts. And this can also be a very, very good defensive pivot for something maybe like a Mamoswine, or because we all know bulky waters are very, very good. This is naturally a bulky water, and then you make it incredibly high defenses. I mean, this is an Entei check, this is a Mamoswine check, this is a whatever check you want it to be, but it does most well in a sweeper type set, and it just kind of wins very, very easily. Rocking out with its cock out is Clefable. Now, Clefable is an absolute menace in the OU tier. It's an absolute menace in League format, and it's incredibly annoying because it is arguably the best fairy type. I think, I mean, it depends. If you want more an offensive team, Sylveon is better because, Choice Specs Hyper Voice is better than Life Orb, 3 attacks Clefable, but this thing cannot die because it only has 2 weaknesses, and you can run like Berry to reduce its steel type, things like Bullet Punches or whatever, and it can deal with any steel type in the game because it has Thunderbolt for things like Skarmory, and Thunderbolt for things like even Talonflame. It has Focus Blast if you want to go that route for like if you see it gets Focus Blast, Fire Blast, or Ferrothorns Focus Blast for Heat Rands or this or that. Let's see, does it get Flamethrowers for Jirachi as well. So I mean, this thing can hit whatever you want it to if you do decide to go like 3 attacks. But we all know the unkillable Clefable, and this thing, even if they have checks for it, you just kind of win. You do have to watch out for maybe something like Trick Users, but that goes with all bulky type mons. As long as you don't get crit, like if they have something like a Nidoking, if you're able to set up like 2, maybe 3 Calm Minds, or even whittle down the Nidoking on the Moonblasts. If you make the correct 50-50s with Clefable on the Nidoking, you can essentially beat a Nidoking, because the Nidoking, unless it crits you, cannot kill you if you get up like 2, 3 Calm Minds. Probably the deadliest set that Clefable has option to is it does have Cosmic Power. And the reason why Cosmic Power is probably the deadliest set is because you're so concentrated on, Calm Mind, Moonblast, Soft Boil, something like Thunder Wave on it, and you kind of forget about Cosmic Power. So you prepare for it by, putting a Bullet Punch on there or a Poison Jab on there. But if it gets up a couple of Cosmic Powers, now you're really, really not killing it. And it's really cool that it does have the Unaware ability. So, I mean, it could be a potential sweeper But this thing can also be a very good teammate because once again it has Wish Protect, Heal Bell. So if you run Unaware, Wish Protect is probably better. You can run Moonlight, but then you're risking them having if they have something like Sandstorm or Rain, you're not really recovering that much. You only have 8 PP, and Wish Protect's probably better with an Unaware set. And then probably like Calm Mind if they have a setup sweeper. Something like this can be a Manaphy check, for example. If they set up +6 tail glows, doesn't matter because Unaware ignores all that things. Now, the only thing that Unaware is not good against if they have something like a Mold Breaker ability or Terra Volta, as we've seen from Kiram, and they set up, uh, it goes right through the Unaware ability. But like Unaware is probably the best ability for a defensive mod in the game, and it has Magic Guard. You got it. I mean, that's another 50-50 mechanic that you play around because you never know. Are they going to have Unaware? Are you going to have Magic Guard? That's the freedom of having a Clefable because it's like, I have so many options I can do with this thing. I can do so many different things. What do I want to do? Pick your poison. And that is why it is our number 2 mon. I just want to remind everybody this is my top 5 mons, and I am definitely open to criticism. If you think my top 5 was absolute shit, let me know. But here's the thing, if you think Victini or Sylveon or whatever mon should have been on this list, there's a couple options why I didn't put them on my list. For example, if you think Victini should be on this list, in my opinion, it's not a top 5 mod because it's weak to rocks, it's weak to Pursuit Trap, because you have that nuke in V-Crate, which is very good, obviously. It lowers the defenses, and then you can kind of, and its speed, so you can kind of play around that. And, thick fat users, there's a lot of different things that can check Victini. But if you're the best Victini user in the game, obviously, Victini is going to be on your top 5. But back with Jirachi. Now, Jirachi is a very skillless bond, and it's just very, very fun to have it on your team. But if you're facing against Jirachi, like, you don't want to face against Jirachi. This is the set you have to prepare for this set. Because if you don't, you're going to lose to it. Simply because Ironhead's Ring Race is overpowered. This is Pokemon, guys. Like, this is supposed to be a competitive format. Yeah. Ironhead's Ring Race. Let's get it. Another really scary thing about Choice Scarf Jirachi, yeah. So if you do have a defensive check on it, you turn. Let's say if the defensive check is maybe something like even a Charizard or something weird like that, you Body Slam Parrot. You can also run something like Heart Stamp if their team is weak to Psychic. You can run Fire Punch if they have a Ferrothorn. It's kind of like, 3 moves, U-turn, and here's the fun part about this set, Healing Wish. Let me explain to you why Healing Wish is so fun on Scarf Jirachi. So let's say you do have something like a Mega Charizard X, and their check to it is a Landorus. In the beginning of the game, you're going to be using Charizard, just nuking things right off the bat, and let's say Landorus, you're able to get that thing down to 20%. And then it gets up rocks, and because of the recoil and it's taken prior damage and this and that, let's say the Charizard's now at 5% and rocks are up. So your opponent's thinking, well, I can let Landorus go down. I'm not worried about Charizard because Stealth Rocks are up, and I'm not worried about it. You come in with Scarf Jirachi, click Healing Wish, and the game, that is the biggest momentum swinger in Pokemon, is Healing Wish users. So you can't always get a Healing Wish user on your team, but if you can, it's game over. And it's just really, really fun to have Healing Wish in the back if you need it. Another thing about Jirachi is it is a Steel type. Steel type defensively is very good. So if you need it to be a defensive role, which it can do very well because, once again, base 100 stats, it can check, normal types. It can check, and you can even run, something like a Colbur Berry. Like, let's say they have a Ursaring or whatever. You throw on a Colbur Berry. Let's say they have a whatever. You can throw on berries on here. Leftovers is probably the thing you're going to run most on this set, and you're probably gonna have. You can run Ironhead Thunderwave because that just kind of just wins even versus defensive checks, it just kind of flinches them down, but it kind of depends. And then you can make it physically defensive, specially defensive. It can do a lot of different roles. Another set that you can run is a substitute set. So substitute sets are very, very scary because, once again, it is base 100, it's good defenses, and it can be very tricky to... So you're preparing for the Scarf Jirachi set, and then so you need defensive mons that can take Iron Heads, and then you set up a substitute, and now those things can't even break the sub, and Toxic Iron Head is very deadly. So if they have something like a Milotic, sure, you're giving it its Marvel scale, but you set up a Toxic and you Iron Head it and you flinch, and then it's dead. So, and you know, the fourth move, it can be, you know, whatever you want, but you know, if they have something like Ferrothorn or whatever, you hit them with the Fire Punch. Now, you really want to be running a lot of HP because Seismic Toss is a thing. If they don't have a Seismic Toss user, then, you know, whatever. But, you know, with something like a lot of HP, if they have Substitute, like a Chansey or whatever, they can't, like, this is a good answer to a Chansey because they can't status you, they can't Thunder Wave you because you set a sub on it. They try to Seismic Toss, they can't break your sub, and it's just living hell. Now, another fun thing about Jirachi, why you cannot check Jirachi, is it has coverage moves. Any coverage move you want on it. I think the only thing that really checks it to an extent is maybe something like a Heatran, because, you know, its only best moves are like HP Ground, which is, you know, HP Ground probably 2 KOs it, and then Drain Punch. Yeah, Drain Punch kind of sucks. It doesn't really do that much, but if they have something like a Skarmory, they have something like whatever, like Hippowdon, you can run Grass Knot. If they have Landorus, Ice Punch, Ferrothorn, Fire Punch. Iron Head is pretty much something you're always going to run, and it's very, very scary. Another set that you can run on Jirachi is continuously, you know, on the substitute, is instead of something like the substitute, kind of these, is substitute with the Calm Mind. And that, you know, that's really, really scary because if they do have something like let's say their defensive check is a Milotic and they made sure that their Scalds break through substitutes for whatever reason. You set up a Calm Mind and now they can't, or, you know, let's say something a little bit more powerful. You set up a Calm Mind and now they can't break your sub anymore, and then Mono Psyshock, and then obviously if they have a Dark type, your fourth move can be, you know, something like Dazzling Gleam. This move pool is very, very fun, and you cannot pair for Jirachi. It can win games. You can get outplayed all game, win with Iron Head or Heart Stamp or whatever. Has Healing Wish, has Stealth Rocks, you know, so it can be a Stealth Rock user. It can do whatever. If you're a good player, if you're a bad player, you just run Scarf Iron Head. If you're a good player, you can run, you know, lure sets, Wish Protect sets, substitute sets, and you cannot prepare for Jirachi because it can do anything, and that is why I put it on the #1. So if you guys want to see this series continue, let me know. If there's certain things that you think I can change up, also let me know. Until next time, peace.